Small businesses employ 3/4 of all workers in the city of Los Angeles.
O'Farrell is supporting small mom-and-pop businesses by championing business tax reform and business-friendly policies. He plans to increase jobs and quality of life for residents and build more affordable housing. Many digital media companies, hotels, restaurants, and nightclubs have already moved in, and the new Target is under construction.
There's a lot of new development underway in Hollywood. That it's going to be very exciting for us. We have 1,400 housing units under construction, 500,000 square feet of office space.
Hollywood, tourist capital, movie capital, economic magnet, is a star whose time has come. And it's got no bigger fan than its own council member who plans to keep making it shine brighter. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
And speaking of boosting the local economy and raising the city's profile, Los Angeles just got passed the baton to host some of America's leading athletes headed to the Summer Games in 2016. Yana Kay explains.
The LA Marathon not only pushes athletes to their limits, but it also highlights some of the city's best features. And now Los Angeles will shine once again after Mayor Eric Garcetti announced that the city will be hosting the 2016 Olympic Team Trials Marathon.
We promise a world-class event that will showcase the best of LA, inspire athletes and fans alike.
Olympic hopefuls from across the nation will descend upon Los Angeles to fight for a spot on the U.S. Olympic track and field marathon team that will be heading to the Summer Olympics in Brazil.
The city of Los Angeles and the LA Marathon put on a impressive bid. We were very, very impressed with the public-private partnership and the collaboration and the enthusiasm and the rich history that the city has for both hosting the Olympic Games and the passion that they have for our sport.
When deciding on where to hold the trials, Olympic track and field officials say they take several things into account, such as the city's facilities and infrastructure, as well as the amount of local support for hosting the event. They say Los Angeles met all of those requirements.
I can't think of a more fitting place than LA for any event of this magnitude.
It's a great celebration. It's going to be great for all.
The 2016 U.S. Olympic Team Trials will take place on February 13th and will be broadcast on NBC. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
In addition to existing facilities to be used in the marathon trials, special courses will also be designed. A landmark hotel near Universal Studios is receiving millions of dollars in energy efficiency upgrades thanks to a special program. Gil Reyes reports on the National PACE program and its biggest loan to date.
Major changes to Hilton Los Angeles Universal City. The Hilltop Hotel near the Bright Lights of City Walk is replacing its own bright lights with tens of thousands of new energy-efficient LED bulbs.
Each one of those lights prior to this was a 40-watt bulb, very short life. Today, each one of those lights are only 4 watts each, plus it's a much better light, dramatically reducing the amount of energy we use.
With other upgrades, the hotel is expected to slash its energy costs by $800,000 per year. Hilton can thank the PACE program, or Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. It also helped purchase this new air conditioning unit. The program allows the hotel to pay for energy efficiency upgrades through a financing tool guaranteed by LA County. Hilton will then repay the loan slowly over a period of years through property taxes.
The return on the investment is so smart. I hope every single competitor, I hope every other business, I hope everybody out there is watching Hilton because they're going to have money in their pocket.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti cheering on Hilton's $7 million makeover. It also includes new windows on the ground floor that automatically dim to excessive sunlight so less air conditioning is needed. Similar windows in all 460 guest rooms and an EV charging station for company vehicles in the garage.
Significant benefits in operation costs, utility savings are dramatic.
I'm looking forward to being able to relaunch a residential program that can go hand in hand with this in conjunction with LA County in the near future.
So that LA City homeowners can also get in on the savings. At Hilton Los Angeles Universal City, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
To see if your business qualifies and to learn more about the PACE program, log on to lapace.org. Some of LA's award-winning entrepreneurs shared their ideas at a banquet atop City Hall. And as Gil Reyes reports, LA's mayor is encouraging the city's industrialist spirit early on.
18-year-old Antonia Castro, a server at Norm's restaurant, used to get blisters on her arm from serving hot plates all day. So she invented an arm protector, similar to this one, that she calls the Cool Sleeve.
It's just a heat-resistant sleeve. It's elastic. It protects my arm, and it's easy to use.
For her idea, she's named 2013's LA Area Young Entrepreneur of the Year at the Ernst & Young's Awards breakfast at Tom Bradley Tower. She hopes to have her product in stores this year.
Becoming an entrepreneur, becoming with that idea, it's mind-blowing. I was raised in East LA.
LA Mayor Eric Garcetti wants to foster the inventive spirit in young people early through heightened skills training in middle schools and high schools.
If they know entrepreneurialism, or if they know computer coding, or if they know three-dimensional manufacturing, that they can take their ideas and see them as they graduate come true.
Clarence Daniels and his company CMS Hospitality operate restaurants at LAX. 2013's Entrepreneur of the Year for Consumer Services advises young minority industrialists to join business associations.
There are a lot of great ones in Los Angeles, the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce, the Latin Business Association, the Asian Business Association, because it's through those relationships and information that you'll see the opportunities. Get as much information as you can, meet as many people as you can.
Clarence Daniels of CMS Hospitality's latest idea is to put a Rolling Stone magazine-themed restaurant at LAX, complete with star-studded photographs and rock and roll memorabilia, leaving many people wondering, why didn't I think of that? It all starts with a novel idea before turning that dream into reality. Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Before embarking full-time on her business career, Antonia Castro plans to attend college with the help of her award prize, a $1,500 college scholarship. Well, a look at the recent 2014 LA Art Show. Public art on LA's utility boxes expands downtown, and a local football team honored by city leaders. These stories and more in City Beat. The 2014 LA Art Show recently came to the LA Convention Center. The works of Bordeaux artists from the France Los Angeles Resident Exchange was on display at the art show, as well as photography from Gil Garcetti, former LA County District Attorney and father of Mayor Eric Garcetti.
We're loving the photography, so we were looking at the bicycles in Paris. That was fun.
I find the guitar is very interesting and colorful.
The guitar the gentleman speaks of is part of Cheech Marin's The Chicano Collection, which was also on display at the LA Art Show. A popular public art project that first started in Boyle Heights has now expanded to downtown LA. A mural of Nelson Mandela and another celebrating Native American history are among newly painted murals that can be seen on 6 Department of Transportation utility boxes along Main and Los Angeles streets at 4th, Winston, and 5th Streets. The downtown installation comes after Councilmember Jose Huizar recently announced the installation of 9 utility box murals along the First Street Arts Corridor in Boyle Heights. The city's recreation and parks leaders break ground on a new green space project in the Watts community. This vacant lot, which had been used as a dumping site, will be transformed into a 1-acre park to be completed by this fall. The future park, located at 114 Monitor Avenue, is a result of a grant from the Prop 84 statewide program. Community members contributed to the overall design with amenities to include a large children's playground, a fitness zone, and even 3 sculptures called Urban Flower by artists of the Watts community to be installed along the railroad tracks. Councilmember Bernard Parks invited members of the Crenshaw High School football team and their coaches to City Hall to celebrate the team's section title win after beating the Narbonne High School Gauchos.
Crenshaw also beat Jefferson, Dorsey, and Venice in the playoffs before taking down a seasoned Narbonne team.
I became a better person because of my coach. He taught me a lot of things, how to grow up and how to just be a man.
The December 6th victory gave a 4th Division I title to Coach Robert Garrett. Crenshaw Cougars are ranked 29th in the state. An aging bell is restored to its former glory. Rasha Goel has more on why a historic bronze bell is special to the City of Angels.
The Korean Friendship Bell was presented by the Republic of Korea to the U.S. in 1976, honoring Korean War veterans and celebrating the bicentennial of U.S. independence. After bearing years of wear and tear, the bell was recently restored by a team of artisans from South Korea.
It is our responsibility to take care of this gift. And the second gift in the restoration has been an extraordinary act of kindness, of generosity from our dear friends in Korea.
The bell is a revered symbol of friendship and gratitude to both Koreans and Americans alike.
The prized bell was rededicated in Angels Gate Park in San Pedro, where it is housed in a stone pavilion. Joining Mayor Eric Garcetti to ring the bell were Consul General of the Republic of Korea Shin Yoon-sung and LA County Supervisor Don Kanabe.
The ringing symbolic of the bell 13 times for the original 13 colonies.
The restoration of the Korean Friendship Bell preserved the bell's original designs, including Goddesses of Liberty. This rededication of the bell marks another historic moment that will ring for years to come. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The Korean Friendship Bell is struck 5 times a year on Independence Day, Korean Independence Day, Constitution Day, New Year's Eve, and Korean American Day. And in this week's list of things to do, the birds and the bees at the LA Zoo, Lego Day, and everything you've ever wanted to know about boating. The 2014 Progressive Insurance Los Angeles Boat Show cruises into the Los Angeles Convention Center and Pier 44 in Marina del Rey, February 6th to the 9th. Complimentary round-trip shuttle transportation is available between both locations. The 4-day event showcases hundreds of vessels from entry-level family cruisers to million-dollar yachts, plus the latest in boating accessories and gear. For ticket prices, times, and other information, go to losangelesboatshow.com. The LA Zoo takes on the birds and the bees with the provocatively named lecture Sex and the City Zoo 2014. The presentation on Saturday, February 8th, celebrates animal mating, dating, and cohabitating. And just in time for Valentine's Day, the festivities include wine and refreshments starting at 5 p.m. with the lecture from 6 to 7. This event is for adults 21 and older. The zoo is located at 5333 Zoo Drive. More info can be found by going to lazoo.org. And it's Lego Day at the Skirball Cultural Center on Sunday, February 9th from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Backed by popular demand, the Skirball hosts another day of fun and collaborative Lego building with visiting Lego group Lugola. The Lego building also coincides with the museum's exhibit in honor of the architecture of Moshe Safdie, known for his esteemed prefabricated housing project in Canada known as Habitat 67. On Lego Day, you can give it a try, constructing your own imaginative structures. The Skirball is located at 2701 North Sepulveda Boulevard. For details, go to skirball.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. Another thing to do, which takes place once a month, are lectures hosted by a group with a keen interest in food and food history. The latest lecture delved into the role perfumes played in the Arab culture. The group, the Culinary Historians of Southern California, which is dedicated to pursuing food history and supporting culinary collections at the Los Angeles Public Library, recently hosted a lecture at the Central Library entitled A Feast for the Nose, the Perfumed Banquet in Old Damascus. Medieval Arab banquets were focused not only on the aroma of the food, but also of the diners who would wash with scented soaps or scented waters throughout the course of the meal.
Some of them were fragrant waters like rose water or orange blossom water. They were distilled, they were water distilled. They were not alcohol distilled like most of our perfumes. The Arabs have never made alcohol-based perfumes, so far as I know. And then there were oil-based perfumes. They were based on an oil called Ben oil, which is the fragrant oil of a particular plant called Moringa oleifera, or the horseradish tree. Those attending got to smell for themselves perfumes made from medieval recipes.
The hands-on experience of the lectures is what keeps bringing Daniel Sylvester and his wife back lecture after lecture.
My wife is interested in this, and we often cook together. And we both love to eat like everybody else. But this one, meeting here was mostly about smells, because that aroma is an important part of food, and also about, sometimes being clean before you eat.
To learn more about the culinary historians of Southern California, go to chscsite.org. The Culinary Historians of Southern California has a membership of about 250 men and women, some who work in the food industry, others who hail from the fields of television, theater, or museums. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacitywiew.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We leave you now with some more of the artwork from the LA Art Show. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Every day, our brave troops and their families stand up for us.
For years, we've asked so much of so few.
Now we have a chance to serve these heroes.
To give time, offer comfort, or lend a hand.
To ease the burden on a military family.
Let's honor their service by volunteering ours.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday, February 5th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. Our meetings take place on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonham, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Corretz, Krikorian, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 11 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Shh. Okay, next order of business, or first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Parks moves, O'Farrell seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Cedillo moves, Buscaino seconds. And that brings us where?
Mr. President, before running through the agenda, we have a number of requests from the Department of Building and Safety. They are as follows. To receive and file items 1F, 1G, 1L, 1R, and 1U, inasmuch as the liens have been paid. To receive and file item 1H, inasmuch as the lien was partially rescinded and then paid off. To receive and file item 1S, inasmuch as the property was determined to be an owner-occupied single-family dwelling and thus exempt from lien processing. To reduce the lien on item 1N to $946.47 due to partial payment. To reduce the lien on item 1P to $4,325.51 due to partial payment. And finally, to continue items 1D and 1K to February 19.
Okay, without objection, that'll be the order. So, Mr. Clerk,
very good, sir.
Let's proceed.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, items 1 through 7 are items noticed for public hearing. For item 3, the ordinance of intention was adopted on December 4, 2013, and before council today is the continuation of the hearing and to present the ordinance on February 26, 2014, to consider the report of protests which will be submitted as a result of balloting pursuant to Prop 218.
Okay, that's fine. Do we have cards?
Yes, sir, we do. We have cards on items 1, 2, and 7. Again,
Okay.
1, 2, and 7.
Let's hold those items and let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Members, nobody's in the queue. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you.
And, Mr. President,
Yes.
unless reconsidered, those ordinances will go over for a second read.
Well, hopefully we'll be at 12 and we'll get to it a little later, Mr. Clerk. So let's move on to the next section.
Very good, sir. Items 8 through 29 are items for which public hearings have been held. There are requests to send items 8 and 9 forthwith.
Mr. Englander?
Item 10 and 29, please.
Mr. Englander requests that we hold 10 and 29. Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask that item 21 be continued for 1 week, please.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, if we do that, that'll bring us where?
That brings us to February 12, sir.
Then there's no problem. So without objection, that'll be the order. Mr. Labange.
I'd like to call 28 special, and if anyone's from DOT who's here, I'd like to...
What was that number, Mr.
28.
Labange? 28 held special for Mr. Labange. Okay, let's prepare to vote on the remaining... Hello. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay,
And,
let's...
Mr.
Yes,
President,
Mr. Clerk.
did you wish to send items 8 and 9 forthwith? sir?
Thank you. I would
Yes.
like that, too. Thank you, Mr.
I'm
Clerk.
glad you would like that, Mr. Labange, because it's done. Okay. So again, Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
Mr. President, items 30 through 35 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, you want to hold 35?
Yes, I'd like to call item 35 special, please.
Okay. Do we have cards, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir. We have cards on items 30, 33, 34, and 35.
So that leaves us with what, 32?
31 and 32, sir.
Okay, well, let's, Mr. Laban.
Yeah, I got a good answer on 28. This is just to update the 2005 report. So I revoke my special and get the department working on the new report.
I got you. We'll get back to it and we'll vote on it. So let's vote on the items 31 and 32, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there are no cards. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now let's vote on, I believe it was item 28.
Yes, sir.
That was held by Mr. Labange.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's, on that item, or did we have any? No cards. So on that item, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. President, that brings council to items 36 through 40. They're items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item number 40, I would ask that it be continued for 1 week.
Okay.
Items number 36, 37, 38, and 39 are matters that the Budget and Finance Committee considered and recommends approval of the City Attorney's recommendations, and those matters can be resolved in open session unless members have questions or concerns.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, why don't you read the items and let's just vote on those?
Very good, sir. Would you first like to continue item 40 without objection?
Without objection.
And that's 1 week to February 12. Item 36. In the case entitled City of Los Angeles versus PBR Realty, LLC, there is a recommendation to expend $234,000 in settlement. Item 37. In the case entitled Philadelphia Indemnity versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $200,000 in settlement. Item 38. In the case entitled Carlos Raymond Gomez versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $500,000 in settlement. In the case entitled Lorenzo Moriel versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $504,000 in settlement.
Thank you, kind sir. Let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we have more than 12 members, so why don't we deal with our ordinances? I think 2 of them, their cards on, maybe 7, and what's the other one? 33. Can we vote on the remainder?
Yes, sir. That would leave items 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6, sir.
Okay, so let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now let's actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Buscaino, would you like to proceed with your presentation for today? The floor is Mr. Buscaino's.
Colleagues and Mr. President, thank you. It gives me great pleasure today to honor one of the best and brightest in the city family, Deputy City Engineer Vincent Jones, who is retiring after 27 years of service to the City of Los Angeles. Let's give Vince Jones a round of applause and thank him for our service. We're going to miss you. I had an opportunity to work hand in hand with Vince Jones the last 2 years in response to the White Point landslide. And I saw him in action. He trekked down to the harbor many times a month to listen to the concerns of this landslide that took a chunk out of Paseo del Mar. And it was quite the journey, and day in and day out, every time he met with my constituents in the harbor in the San Pedro area, He was just very professional at all times, patient, fair, and just dedicated. He's repeatedly, as I said, came to us for a number of briefings and presentations, made himself available as a valuable resource of information to my staff and to my residents in San Pedro in response to this landslide. A fine product of Compton, Vince attended the Oregon Institute of Technology, where he was a captain of the basketball team. In 1987, he returned to his roots in Southern California and joined the Bureau of Engineering and the Los Angeles City family as a civil engineering assistant. And over the course of the next 27 years, he proved to be a valued member of the Bureau, and his stellar work was recognized with positions of greater responsibility and authority, culminating in his appointment as Deputy City Engineer in 2011, the first African American to serve as such in city history. Incredible, incredible accomplishment. I want to give an opportunity, Mr. President, if I may, to turn it over to a couple of his key colleagues in the Bureau of Engineering. But I personally want to commend Vince for his compassion, his commitment, his dedication to the city, and many years of dedicated service in making our great city a better place to live, work, and visit. And with that, we say we want you to enjoy your retirement. We want you to also take this opportunity to spend time with your loved ones, your wife Karen and your 3 children, and we wish you the best in the years to come. I want to turn it over to...
But before you
yes,
do
sir.
that, Mr. Buscaino, I'd like to recognize Mr. Labange for a few words.
Yes, sir, yes.
Chairman Buscaino, public works so important, public safety, public health, public education, public amenities, but public works is so important. And Vince Jones is like as great a conductor that ever stood on the stage at the Hollywood Bowl. Wherever he took the baton, there was a completed project successfully to stand for the city. And we don't recognize, and I see our former chief engineer of Bureau of Engineering, Gary Lee Moore, and I see Deborah Weintraub, our acting chief engineer, and the other engineers around you. You make a difference in Los Angeles. Because I thought one day, I said, yeah, there's one guy giving you a hand. They give him everybody give him a hand. Those fire stations you're in, they were built by engineers. But I looked downtown, and I was staring at the buildings of Bunker Hill, and I said, you know, the engineers did it right. If you're off at an inch on the bottom, you're off at 40 inches on the top. You were never off, Vince. You were always right on point. You always got it done. I'm proud of what you're going to do in the future and with your family and all that work. But I just want to salute you. And I think of every time I pass the bomb squad up on Main Street, because I think I was with the mayor's office when I worked on that issue with you and was sensitive to the community, which you always had, as you mentioned in the work down in San Pedro. So I just wanted to rise to salute one of the greatest conductors from the Bureau of Engineering, Deputy Chief Vince Jones. Good job, Vince.
Mr. Buscaino, back to you,
Thank
sir.
you. I'd love to bring to the microphone to say a few words our interim general manager of the Port of Los Angeles, and of course, once ran the Bureau of Engineering, Mr. Gary Lee Moore, to say a few words.
Thank you, Councilman Buscaino. It is a great pleasure to be here to celebrate Vince's retirement. I had the great honor to promote Vince in 2011, and as the councilman said, he was the first African-American deputy city engineer. He's been a role model throughout his city career. He's been a role model to all people in the Bureau of Engineering and throughout the city. And diversity is what makes this city so great. And it's just great to have his colleagues and friends, my friends from the Bureau of Engineering, joining us today and watching us, because, Vince, you made an impact on all of our lives. Vince said, though, now he has time to let his hair grow back in, right, Vince? He's been a very, very busy man. And from all of us, Vince, thank you and congratulations. Good job.
Now, our Deborah Weintraub, who's leading the Bureau of Engineering, to say a few words. Deborah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. So
Good morning.
Good morning. With Vince retiring, we're losing a real team player and someone who is incredibly cool under pressure. He mentioned this morning his challenge was getting his young daughter Phoebe to school, and she presented more of a challenge than some of our projects presented. We're really going to miss Vince. We wish him luck. He has taken retirement to enable his wife to have her career. They're switching roles, and that's admirable. I'm sure at some point he'll be back in the profession when his kids have all gone off to college. But we wish you luck, and next time we see you, we hope to see you in a Hawaiian shirt. Thank you so much.
So, Vince, on behalf of the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, the entire city council, we recognize you. We thank you for your years of over 27 years of service to the city of Los Angeles and the Bureau of Engineering. Congratulations. We love you.
Mr. Buscaino, I just cannot believe this retirement. I mean, he looks 21, you know? This is blowing my mind. But congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank Councilmember Buscaino for recognizing me here today. And I also want to thank the City of Los Angeles and the City Council for allowing me to have just an amazing career with the city. And, you know, it's just been a lot of fun. And I'll have to tell you that the Department of Public Works, the Bureau of Engineering, is the best department anywhere around. And if you don't believe me, just go across the street and look at the police administration building. Just go down First Street and look at the Hollenbeck Police Station. Just go over to Silver Lake and look at the Silver Lake Branch Library. Just go out into the harbor and look at the Harbor Police Station, all of the new parks and the swimming pools, and not to mention the things that you don't see, like the sewers and the storm drains and the streets. All of that I've had an opportunity to work on. The Bureau of Engineering, the Department of Public Works, delivered all of those projects for the past 15 years. They're amazing projects. They're award-winning not only nationally but worldwide. And I'm so blessed to have the opportunity to work on those projects, to work with these people behind me as a team. And I can walk out satisfied in knowing that I accomplished a lot and that it was just a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier, I asked that item number 40 be continued for 1 week. The reason for that continuation has been resolved, so if we could reconsider that, Budget and Finance recommends approval of the City Attorney's recommendation. We can go ahead and vote on that now in open session.
No problem. So, Mr. Clerk, let's vote on reconsideration where it relates to item 40. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, now that item is before us. Would you read that item, Mr. Clerk?
Very good, sir. In the case entitled Richard Ventura versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $207,941.21 in settlement.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, that's approved. Okay, Ms. Martinez, I'm going to move to item 35. We do have some cards on the item, but what I'd like to do first is if I could ask our First Lady, Amy, if you please come to the center table to begin this item off. It's always a pleasure to see you, and welcome.
So I think this is the first time I'm doing public comment ever.
You're doing great already.
So I'm very excited. So good morning. I wanted to be here today because this is an issue that I not only feel strongly about, but one that also has a profound impact on our city, the health of its children, and the well-being of its families. California was the first state to pass paid family leave over 10 years ago, but there are still too many Angelenos who don't know this benefit is available to them, and I want to thank Councilmember Martinez for bringing more attention to this issue today, and I really look forward to working with you on similar issues into the future. Awareness of family leave rights is lowest among those who are most vulnerable in our city, immigrants and those who live in poverty, among others. And we all know that getting children off to a good start is an important factor in children's success in school and an important part of helping that child, once an adult, and his or her family stay out of poverty. Families are more important in the lives of children than any of our other social institutions. So thank you all for supporting that notion in this federal legislation today, which I figure is a no-brainer for every single one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, and good to see you. Thank you so very much. So I now would like to call Batman, followed by Mr. Walsh, followed by Karen Peters. If you please come forward.
Los Angeles and all you today, all you firemen, yes, we are vulnerable by a city that's not taken action. But to keep this on a positive note, we must secure family medical insurance for all our family members, for all you employees of the city. It would be an evil, a wrongdoing not to consider that we all should be insured, we should all be covered, and not fall under the Obama rules. Yes, Obama rules that didn't cover much of you within the United States. But here in Los Angeles, Ms. Martinez has acted responsibly to bring this to a bill that will secure the livelihood of not our children, but of your future and your retirement. So, all of you here today, thank your councilman for something positive that they have actually done.
Speaking to the mic.
For all of us.
Mr. Herman, speaking to the mic.
Now, I'm sure everyone can hear me, Mr.
No,
Herman.
speaking to the mic.
Do I have to, or you're telling me that I have to?
Speak into the mic
I'm
on
speaking.
the item.
Everyone here hears me, Mr. Herman.
No, in fact, if speak into the mic, or I'm going to have to ask you not to speak at all.
So as you can see, folks, this is the problem at City Hall. When you're interrupted by...
Has nothing, and thank you, Mr. Herman. Your time has expired. Mr. Sargents, help him understand that he's disrupting this meeting and show him to his seat if he needs some assistance. Mr. Walsh, please come forward, followed by, was it Ms. Peters? Karen Peters, yes. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or just plain J. Walsh Confidential. Of course, we want our well-paid lobbyists in D.C. fighting to extend the kind of benefits that city workers here in Los Angeles get when they go on leave. It's the Tea Party types that are trying to turn this country into a fascist state. We are 100% in favor of this. However, you notice that they won't show my Jew face on television, but the mayor's wife gets special treatment there.
State of the item.
I will tell you, 100% in favor of this motion, but everybody speaks here. That's America, not special treatment up there, and this is my Jew face. Get used to it. HollywoodHighlands.org, all for the workers.
All right. Okay, Miss Peters, Karen Peters. I think it's Rachel Torres, Melissa Goodman. Hi, identify yourself.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Karen Peters. I'm the Executive Director of Breastfeed LA, the breastfeeding task force of Greater Los Angeles. We want to thank Council Member Nury Martinez for bringing attention to this important issue. And in doing so, she's answering the U.S. Surgeon General's call to action. Former Surgeon General Regina Benjamin issued the call to action to support breastfeeding, encouraging policymakers, such as you, to take an active role in supporting women to breastfeed, with a specific action set for policymakers, that's you guys, to ensure that all employed mothers have access to paid maternity leave. California's paid family leave has been found to double the median duration of breastfeeding among those who used it, and that included the women in low-wage jobs. Breastfeeding is a short-term health behavior with long-term health benefits for both mothers and their children. A woman's employment status often influences and is a barrier to her initiation and duration of exclusive breastfeeding. When women are pregnant and they're thinking about breastfeeding and their time off, the plans are made during that period of time, and they need to know their rights. They need to know that California supports women breastfeeding and bonding through the Paid Family Leave Act. They need to understand that California law supports breastfeeding with lactation accommodation in the workplace. Early return to work often means ending breastfeeding earlier. We petitioned our members and found that many committed written statements of support of the paid family leave. Every week counts. Every week counts. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. So we now have Ms. Torres, Ms. Goodman, and Mr. Arnold. Did you fill out one on this? Because I didn't see it. Okay, so now you'll come after Ms. Goodman. Okay, Ms. Torres?
Good morning. My name is Rachel Torres. I'm with Unite Here, Local 11. And on behalf of the 20,000 members of the hospitality industry we represent throughout Los Angeles and Orange County, we wish to express our strong support for the resolution for paid sick leave. As many folks know, this is an industry dominated by poverty. 43% of hospitality workers live below the poverty line. That requires them to work 2 jobs. Many of them are like my mother, who was a cook and housekeeper in this industry and had to struggle to raise kids like me. But that meant that sometimes she had to go to work when she was sick. So imagine that. Folks who are coming, serving in this industry that we want to thrive while being sick, while interacting with food, while interacting with guests. This is an industry that our city cares about, that we need to protect, and we need to protect the workers who struggle through it. So we need to have paid sick days in the city of LA. It's right, it's just, it's a public health issue, and we thank Councilmember Martinez for leading this struggle. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming. Melissa Goodman, followed by Arnold Sachs, then followed by Rami Mizrahi. Yes.
Great. Good morning. My name is Melissa Goodman. I'm a senior staff attorney with the ACLU of Southern California, and I focus on reproductive justice, gender equity, and LGBT rights. The ACLU supports the resolution to establish the city's support for the Federal Family Act. The ACLU also supports and sees a very pressing need for efforts to increase awareness of California's paid family leave program. And we'd just like to thank Councilwoman Martinez for her work on this issue. We believe that parenting workers must be able to take time off to bond with a new child and enjoy all of the health and emotional benefits that come with it without fearing financial devastation. Paid family leave systems give working parents job security and a partial wage replacement to help them care for a newborn or a sick child without losing a very needed paycheck. Access to paid family leave is an economic justice issue, which is a civil right. Because when people lack basic economic security, when they can't or they have to struggle to, feed their families or pay the rent, they can't fully exercise their civil rights. Access to paid family leave is also a reproductive justice issue. True reproductive freedom is about much more than the right to decide not to have a child. It means you also have the right to decide to become a parent. and then also the practical ability to raise happy, healthy, and economically secure families. And that right's diminished if you fear losing your job, or you can't even take a small sliver of time off to care for your child without losing a paycheck. So for these reasons, the Council should support the Family Act. But California still has a ways to go to ensure that all workers who can benefit from the program even know about it. More than 50% of eligible workers don't know the program exists and don't even use it, even though they pay into it through payroll deductions. And this is disproportionately true of low-income workers who need it most, and workers in LA and LA County. So we encourage the Council to take efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sachs. And again, Mr. Sachs, sorry for the mix-up. Ramit Mizrahi, or Rahai, and Manuel Villanueva. Yes, Mr. Sachs.
Thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. And very quickly, Mr. President, the speaker who spoke at the table, who was that speaker who spoke at the table?
No, let's just speak on this item right now.
The speaker who spoke at the table.
That has nothing to...
Who introduced the item.
She didn't introduce. Arnold, speak your word.
I just wanted to know if...
Speak your word.
It was on this item. Anyway, it is wonderful, and it is logical, and it is great, and all the superlatives you could think of. But is it cost-effective for small businesses? You know, when you raise the standards like you want to propose, we need a living wage. We have a living wage. We have a late wage that's going to be $15. Somebody just spoke about 40% of the people living in low income, or 42%. You just did a report. The city has 40% of people living in poverty. What are you addressing about that? But when you raise the standards and then turn around and cut off at the knees, where you nickel and dime the public for every service that becomes available to them, whether they're paying fines or fees or taxes or this or that for diminished services, it's not a win-win situation. Take care of your business. You have a $3 billion road repair crew, but who's going to pay for it? You're going to fall on the 40% people that are living in poverty? They're going to get a share of that $3 billion road repair bill that you're considering? That doesn't make sense. What about all the money that had come into the city before? You managed over the past 6 years to give out 5 pay raises to the coalition and the city council, yet you cut services. You cut from one side and you elevate from the other, but what you elevate is really you're just lowering the floor.
Thank you. Okay, so again, if I could have please come forward and identify yourself. And again, do I have Manuel Villanueva? Okay, you are?
I'm Ramit Mizrahi.
Well, I butchered it, and I apologize.
That's okay.
So, Manuel, you're next. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you to Councilmember Martinez, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a plaintiff's employment lawyer, and my practice is committed to representing workers. I help a lot of people whose leave law rights have been violated. I speak here both in my capacity as a workers' rights attorney, but also as a mother myself. As someone with a young baby, being able to take paid family leave was invaluable. Time to bond with my baby, time to be able to breastfeed him, time to connect with him. But unfortunately, a lot of American mothers and fathers don't have that privilege and don't have that opportunity. 1/4 of American mothers return to work within 2 months of having their baby. 41% return within 3 months. Compare that to mothers in the UK, where 7% of them, only 7% have returned within 3 months. With respect to fathers, who should also have an opportunity to connect and bond with their babies, 85% take leave, but only about a week or two. Why? Because they can't afford to. A Department of Labor survey from 2012 found that nearly half of workers who took any family leave time cut it short because they couldn't afford more time. Of those who didn't take it, 46% said that money was the reason. Parents should not have to choose between bonding with their babies and being able to make ends meet. There may be a concern on the side of businesses, but actually paid family leave in California has been a tremendous success, And research has found that of businesses surveyed, 89% said that it either had a positive effect or no noticeable effect on productivity. 91% said it didn't have it had a positive effect or no noticeable effect on profitability and performance. 96% positive or no negative effect on turnover, and 99% said it benefited employee morale. So this is something that's a no-brainer, and it will help our citizens. Thank you.
Welcome. Identify yourself and welcome.
My name is Manuel Villanueva. I am a member of the Restaurant Opportunity Center, also a restaurant worker. And I'm a gay immigrant from Mexico that came to the country 14 years ago with my family. My parents and I came here to settle ourselves and live a better life. My dad worked for many years in sales, and he was diagnosed with diabetes after 2 years of being here. Unfortunately, due to stress and his age, his diabetes worsened and his condition was really bad. The one kidney that is working on his body is working at 14%. He needs to be on dialysis 3 times a week. Due to this, his memory is starting to weaken. He can't move very much. This frustrates him because he was a very active male. I have to be there when he gets out of dialysis. I have something ready to eat for him because he gets really hungry. He loses all his protein whenever he's done with dialysis. Sometimes his transportation comes in on time. Sometimes his body won't take dialysis very well, so he needs to stay there a couple hours more, 4 hours more, until he gets better to be released. As many restaurant workers, I live paycheck by paycheck. Me and my husband have sheltered him in our home, and it's really hard for me because my workplace is not very understanding. As many doctor letters I can bring to them, I get my hours cut off. I need to take care of him. He's on a very special diet, and my income is hurt. And you do this because of love of your siblings and my father. And this law that I just found out about is going to benefit me because we're going to be living a decent life, and not worrying about what's going to happen next. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming and sharing your story. That concludes general public comment or public comment on this item. Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today is the 21st anniversary of President Clinton signing the National Family Medical Leave Act. This historic legislation changed the priorities of our nation and empowered workers to put families first in the most pressing times. But its fundamental law was flawed because many of the families that are living paycheck to paycheck were not entitled to the same right. Without pay included, low and middle income families were not able to take time to take care of their families. To strengthen the Family and Medical Leave Insurance Act, we all call it Family Act, it has been introduced in Congress to be able to establish a program to allow workers to receive up to 7 weeks of partial pay to be able to take care of their loved ones. For Californians, we were very blessed that 12 years ago, former State Senator Sheila Kuehl introduced legislation that would change all that and ensure that not only we had job security at the workplace, but it ensured partial pay for up to 6 weeks to take care of our newborn child, to care of an adopted child, or for someone who is seriously ill in our family. I know for me, the first weeks after having my child 5 years ago was incredibly difficult. I dealt with not only postpartum depression, but a very difficult time nursing. And so if it hadn't been for the California's Paid Family Leave Act, it would have been very difficult for me to bond with my baby. I was also very fortunate that my husband also had the ability to take paid family leave and was able to stay home with us for the first 30 days, not only to help me at home, but to bond with our baby. And so many of our families deserve the same thing. This issue is not only personal for me, but it's something that we need to call attention in the city of Los Angeles. We have Paid Family Leave Act in California, but so many of our workers and so many Angelenos do not know that this law exists and they are protected against retaliation, and they're also protected against losing their jobs. And it's something that we have to continue to support. By having the City Council take a position in support of the National Family Act, Angelenos will become better informed of their rights under current law. Because families living paycheck to paycheck should be able to sleep without fear of losing their livelihood, and because they need to also ensure that their families are safe. We all have a right to bond and care for our families and make sure that all of our children have the best start in life. I ask for an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that said, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That passes. Okay. Mr. Labange for a quick presentation.
Mr. President, I don't know what you're doing tonight or tomorrow night, but most of America will be watching Jay Leno on his final two shows. I'm joined today by Nate Kirkman, who is the Senior Vice President of Entertainment for NBC, a great native son of Oakland, went to Pomona College, and is very much a part of all things. We've had a nice conversation to talk all things NBC. But we want to salute Jay Leno, and we want to send this commendation to the great one. For over 22 years, this young man who was born in New Rochelle, New York. You know who lived in New Rochelle? Anybody know who lived in New Rochelle? No, the Petries. Very good. Oh, very good there. Very good, very good. From the Mary Tyler Moore show. But anyway, Jay Leno is the greatest guy. He's entertained us for 22 years. No one ever replaced Johnny Carson. No one would. No one ever going to replace Jay Leno. And the work he does in the community, and Mitch, as a motorcycle rider, and Dennis Zine before you, you know what he did for the Love Ride? Let's hear it for Jay Leno, Jay Leno Day in Los Angeles. All right, you want to say something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just say something real quick. You got it there.
On behalf of Jay, the staff and crew at The Tonight Show, we'd just like to thank everyone for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll report this hat, Mr. City Attorney,
You
for
better
The Tonight
do that,
Show.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Krikorian, did you accidentally press the...
I think that was from before.
Oh, okay. Okay, at this point, we're going to go to items 10 and 29. We're going to defer to Mr. Englander. I want to welcome all of our great firefighters that are here today, the President Lima, chief that we have here. And so with that said, Mitchell, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask for Mr. Labange to come forward.
Great.
Mr. Englander.
Thank you, Mr. President. And first, thank you to the men and women of the fire department and everything that you do. We have absolutely, without question, the best department in the country that does more with less each and every day. And we know, and it's no secret, that this department has suffered tremendous loss financially. That this department, the fire department, which is the cornerstone and the backbone of public safety for the city of Los Angeles, has been decimated, and our fire department is on life support. We know, and it's been highlighted and well documented and well reported, that we have to restore the services of the department, that we have to focus on a lot of the issues that have been brought forth both by the general public, the stakeholders, the grand jury, and many others and experts. We know that, and we're focused on that, and we're committed to that. The mayor's committed to that, and I've had numerous conversations with him as well, and he is very supportive. So with that, I'd like to bring up, if I could, to the table representatives from our fire department, including the fire chief, our physician for the city of Los Angeles, if we can come on up, our representative from UFLAC, representing the men and women of the department, and our consultant for LA Fire Stat, if we can bring up our consultant on Fire Stat as well. Now, I'd like each of you to, and I do believe we have a member from the commission, the Fire Commission, that was going to join us at the table as well. She's here. With that, I'd like for each of you to open for a moment with what is the current state of the department? What is your answer to a lot of the questions and concerns that are before us? What are some of the recommendations in moving forward? And what are some of the initiatives you've already begun in doing that? And as we open it up with that, I'd like to also remind everybody that while we have some terrific leaders in front of us, there are a lot of people behind them. We have brought in experts, academics. We've brought in consultants. We have really spent a lot of time, a great deal of time, exploring opportunities, creating efficiencies, making sure that we move forward in such a way of restoration that we do so in the best manner possible to protect the residents and the business here in Los Angeles. So with that, Chief, if we can have you open up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Good morning, members of the council, members of the city who are watching and listening to this proceeding today. I'd like to say it's an honor and a privilege and to represent the men and women of the City of Los Angeles Fire Department, and also to be able to sitting at the table with President Lima collaboratively to move forward on the issues that face the fire department today. Right now, as we sit here, 964 men and women stand at the ready to respond to all manner of disaster and catastrophe here in the City of Los Angeles. And I think that's a comforting issue for the city, for the citizens of this city, but it also brings concern because there's a need for us to be able to do more. Looking at the civil grand jury report, the 2013 report, it spoke about the reinstatement of LAFD funding. We started out in 08-09 with 3,213 field authorities. 13-14 fiscal year, we have 2,853 field authorities. We have considerable vacancies due to the cutbacks, and that doesn't even include the roughly 25% compensatory compensated time off. There are other issues. There are hiring issues. My first 30 days with the department, I came up with 4 priorities. My priorities for the department this time are service delivery, training and recruitment, leader development, and technology. They coincide with several of the issues that were brought up in the civil grand jury's report. The civil grand jury also talks about customizing the EMS system. Dr. Eckstein is here with us today to discuss that in depth if you choose, and also the implementation of technological improvements. I'm here today to tell the council that the FireStat system will be in effect, the first iteration of it, before March 1st of this year. We've expedited the Windows 7 upgrade for the department. We've also have several tablet-based initiatives that we're moving forward with aggressively and with the support of my office, and also with the support of several council members who are very keen on technology. Today, whether we increase or we don't increase, it's imperative that one of the greatest fire services in the country leverage technology to be able to do our job more efficiently, more effectively, and more safely. We've also requested in our budget proposal for 14-15 a CITO, or a Chief Information and Technology Officer, to come up with a strategic technological plan for this fine fire department. It's to include the routine technological applications, movements forward in terms of radio and dispatch challenges that we face, and consolidating the various IT efforts affecting the department. Recruitment, we have a serious deficit. Our staffing deficit right now is a predictable surprise. The numbers are very evident. This was a mathematical issue that we looked at several years ago. So where we are today, how we got here is another issue, but what we can do about it is we need to hire more. We need to run concurrent drill towers if at all possible, but we need to hire more. We can't fill the vacancies without more bodies. And we get to a point when we have so many staffing vacancies where it becomes a safety and efficiency issue for the men and women that staff the seats every day. So with that, I'll either stand ready for questions or relinquish the mic to another member at the table.
Well, let me just, members, we do have some speakers on there. Mitch, you take over, but then I want to open up to the colleagues.
Before we go to speakers, I'd like, we have some other opening comments, I believe, as well, and so I'd like to turn it over to any opening comments first from our guests at the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Englander. Honorable City Council members, before I talk, I'd like to take a moment to quickly acknowledge all the firefighters, inspectors, paramedics, and dispatchers that are in the room today here in solidarity. If they may stand up, please. Thank you. My name is Frank Lima, the president of United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, and really appreciate being invited here as a guest at the table. Instead of getting a quick 2 minutes and get out of there, and the collaboration we have with Chief Featherstone and the department, it's been great. I want to thank Council Members Cedillo, Englander, Buscaino for bringing this matter forward, and the members of the Public Safety Committee for their careful consideration of these critical issues facing the LAFD. In June, the LA County Civil Grand Jury released their findings of an investigation into a department deployment plan and closure of critical resources in response to reports of increased emergency response times and the permanent elimination of 318 firefighter positions and 23 resources in the city of Los Angeles. The grand jury report has stated, once funding of the LAFD was reduced, based in part to faulty or outdated data, response times began to rise, and we agree with their assessment 100%. Unfortunately, the faulty data, misguided promises by the department convinced city leaders to adopt a plan that put firefighters and the public at risk. Now, we're here today looking forward, not looking backwards and pointing any blame, and how do we get out of this today? We're going to climb out of this hole, and UFLAC is here agreeing with 3 out of 4 of the grand jury's recommendations to the department. We have fought for years to restore funding and resources as a matter of public and firefighter safety. We support restoration of staffing to the 2008 levels, and we know it's going to take a long time to get there. Labor understands that. We also support the grand jury's call for better technology and for more discretion for our dispatchers. However, we strongly disagree with the recommendation to civilianize our dispatchers. Studies have stated that changing the hours and possibly bringing civilians to the dispatch center will actually cost the city more money and compromise the quality of work that our dispatchers have. Negotiations are needed in that capacity, and we would like to work that out at the bargaining table. In regards to additional drill tower academy classes, we want to thank Councilman Bonin and O'Farrell for introducing this motion. We haven't hired a single firefighter in over 5 years. We knew that the staffing shortage was coming due to DROP. Now, the DROP program is a management's dream tool because you could predict attrition, and that didn't happen. There is currently 1 LAFD Academy class in session that began last week. But after graduation in June, the LAFD will have even more vacancies than they do today because they're not keeping up with the attrition. As Council Members Bonin and O'Farrell point out in their motion regarding hiring shortages, even with the drill tower running continuously every week for the next 4.5 years, it would take the LAFD until April of 2018, that's 2018, just to hire enough firefighters and paramedics to bring the fire department staffing levels into balance, and that's not including one company of restoration beginning. That being said, the department indicates that we have 2 options for the next fiscal year, to go with 5 recruit classes or to go with 3 recruit classes at Drill Tower 81. We are here to say that we have no choice. We need to go to 5 recruit classes, and we need to reopen Drill Tower 81. Please fund the personnel department so they could process our new recruits. We are in a crisis mode, and all excuses need to be removed. We have had one of the most deadly and fatal months with civilian fire fatalities of Angelenos in January, and it happened all over the city, in Sylmar, Crenshaw, Washington, La Brea, Wilmington, Winnetka. We lost a lot of Angelenos, and our firefighters have, the injuries have definitely increased. Our members are being worked into the ground, forced to work overtime because we have too many vacancies. With that said, I'd really like to thank the mayor and this city council for their commitment to making the LAFD a priority. And I'd like to acknowledge our new chief, interim chief Featherstone, and I'd just like to publicly say that he has a lot of tough choices ahead of him, but he inherited a lot of the things that are wrong with the fire department today. And we appreciate working together, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You can clap. He's the head of Youth Black. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. With that, I'd like to at least hear a brief opening remark on where we're at with and what is FireStat LA and our consultants, as well as our expert physician who's here with us as well. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Craig Uchida. I'm the president of Justice and Security Strategies. We've been retained to put together an implementation plan for FireStat LA, a system that will measure performance. We use data from within the police department, the fire department, use technology, and bring in some analysts to assist with FireStat LA. What we are doing, we are now we have to finish the report. It should be finished within 2 weeks and be delivered to the fire department and to the city. We will make recommendations about data, technology, and people, about measures in particular that will be used for FireStat LA, and recommend that a pilot project begin immediately. The pilot project would, at least for now, pick one battalion, test out data, test out technology, test out measures, and test out the process for how FireStat LA could work. Keep in mind that FireStat LA is based on CompStat that's used in the LAPD and hundreds of other police departments across the country. The police department here has used that system for over 10 years, and it has taken them 10 years to solidify, stabilize, and show how crime can be reduced using that system. It's a good system, but it will take some time. And so part of it for us is to show that a pilot can work and then spread it through the rest of the department. So we believe that doing it carefully, slowly, but doing it well is extremely important.
With that, I just wanted to highlight what FireStat was as well. It was a motion that I brought in 2011, and as Reserve LAPD officer, is also the chair of public safety, and looking what we've done with CompStat. When Bratton came here to Los Angeles and really changed the way that we police the city, and where we look at crime numbers now and how we deal with that data and measuring everything and then making changes based on information, which is done on a daily basis on a micro level, community by community and block by block in the police department. I felt it was time to bring that to the fire department. We're now implementing that. We've brought in the consultant that wrote that plan for CompStat. So thank you, Doctor, for that as well. And as they say in airplane, Doctor? Okay, so if you could. Thank you, Dr. Eckstein.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Mark Eckstein. I'm the medical director for Los Angeles Fire Department. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've had the honor and privilege of being the medical director for LAFD for the past 18 years. And there's no question, if you look at things, just all things being equal, you can't close the ambulances and expect response times not to go up unless the call load goes down. And there's no question call load has not gone down, it's actually going up. And there's concern even with the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, our call load may continue to increase due to the lack of primary care in the city and emergency department overcrowding. I think we need to be intelligent as we move forward. Our call load in terms of EMS is rather predictable. Our department needs to pay more attention and prioritize our core business. Virtually 9 out of 10 times the bell rings now in a fire station, it's a medical emergency. So the department needs to do due diligence and pay more attention and prioritize EMS, which is the lion's share of our emergency work. And we can't just throw more resources out there. We need to manage our resources. EMS call load follows a very predictable pattern, and it's very sobering as someone who lives in the city to see every afternoon during evening rush hour, there's huge swaths of the city that have no ambulances available. and prolonged response times on certain types of calls is a matter of life and death. So we need to reevaluate our deployment model. We need to get serious about training in terms of dispatch, which is obviously the foundation of everything we do in terms of emergency. The dispatch system has to be efficient, it has to be functional, and maximize our ability to respond using a tiered dispatch system while minimizing call processing. To that end, I want to thank Chief Featherstone for approving my request, which follows the grand jury request, to move forward with our own customizable LAFD medical priority dispatch system. And we're already beginning to work in that arena, which the idea is not so much to give our dispatchers more discretion, but to be able to design a dispatch system that best suits the needs of our citizens and facilitates the job of our call takers and dispatchers, minimizes call processing time, and sends the right resources. But we need to be mindful, again, we want to be able to send an ambulance to a medical call, not send a fire truck whenever possible, have the fire trucks available to handle fire suppression-related activities, and also be prepared for the future, because the old version of EMS, which is basically someone calls for help and we just transport them to an emergency department, clearly is unsustainable. In my 18 years with the department, we've doubled the number of paramedics we have, we've doubled the number of ambulances we have, yet response times haven't gone down, they've gone up. Emergency departments have closed, the remaining emergency departments are overcrowded, and we need to plan for the future using technology, factoring in some elements of the Affordable Care Act, look at some of the patients who are using 911 inappropriately, working with multiple stakeholders in the healthcare community, including law enforcement, mental health, and public health, work with our stakeholders in the hospital to free our paramedics up to get them back out in the streets more quickly, and provide good, meaningful training to our members. So in summary, I think there's no question that we need additional resources out there, but all I would caution is, just like every business today, they've had to do more with less. We have to be smart about it and see what are the needs of the fire department in 2014 and what are our needs going to be at least for the next 5 years. Thank you.
If we could open it up to members for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Engeldier, for your leadership on this issue. Thank you to the men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department for all of your hard work. Colleagues, I submitted item 29 for our consideration today because in the city of Los Angeles, we have a hiring crisis in the Los Angeles Fire Department, and it is a hiring crisis that is imperiling our neighborhoods. A few years ago, the city made deep cuts in the fire department that has a severe impact on parts of my district, the northern parts of my district, the hillsides and the canyons, similar impact in Mr. O'Farrell's district. The impacts of those cuts are far more severe than we would have anticipated because of the levels of attrition. We now are, it is going to take us 5 academy classes to get to where we were told we would be with the cuts of a few years ago. I want folks around the horseshoe to understand just how significant this hiring crisis and this attrition has been. 1/5 of our Fire Captain 1 positions are vacant. 82 of them are vacant. A Fire Captain 1 is the guy who's assigned to a department, to a station. It's the position filled with, to oversee the unit. That position in 82 of these cases is filled with overtime every single day. Currently, there is no Fire Captain 1 at Fire Station 4 in Little Tokyo, at Fire Station 6 in Angelino Heights, Station 10 in South Park near the Convention Center, Station 12 in Highland Park, Station 13 in Pico Union, Station 34 in the Crenshaw area, 39 in Van Nuys, 46 in South LA, East Hollywood, Silver Lake, Fire Station 59 in my district, 62 in my district, 63 in my district, 68 in Mid-City, in Arleta, in Woodland Hills, in Harbor City, in Sylmar, and at Fire Station 105, the second station in Woodland Hills. That means that every time someone is being called in for overtime, you've gotten someone who may be haggard and overtired, but they're also not familiar with the particularities of that neighborhood. And then we fill eventually these 82 positions, and that's going to come from the rank and file. That's 82 more firefighters we don't have out filling those positions. And the fact that it is going to take us at least 5 academy classes to get where we should be after the cuts of a few years ago is frightening. It is no wonder that our response times are going up. And I wanted to raise this issue now so that as we begin to frame our thinking of the choices we face going into the budget process, we know that public safety means we need to be restoring funding for the fire department. I have a couple more questions, but my time has run out, so I'll wait till we come back around. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Saddia.
I was going to speak earlier when we opened up, but it seems that that saying, not everything that can be said has been said, but not everyone has said it. So let me move the conversation a little forward. I appreciate your leadership and the great work that's involved here. It seems that we should also have involved in this conversation the CAO, or since they're the person that works with us to help solve this. Mr. Bonin, I really appreciate the urgency that you've stated, because I feel that you mentioned, as you went down your list, the first 6 were in my district, and so it gives me a great sense of urgency. And then the other part, the stuff that I'm learning about Los Angeles, is fascinating. The diversity of this city. Fires are non-discriminating. Emergencies are non-discriminating. But our responses must be. We have to be thoughtful about the questions of language. We have to be thoughtful about how people respond and the ability that they have to respond when we confront different languages. And so as we go forward in this, we have to make sure that the fire department for 2014 and forward looks like Los Angeles, and more importantly, sounds like Los Angeles. Because it does no good to show up and then to begin to ask questions when somebody can't respond. And particularly in my district, it's an amazing phenomenon. Like 92% of my district is of immigrant heritage. And so that means that it creates different challenges. We have immigrants from Latin America and Central America who don't speak Spanish nor English. And those create unique challenges. We have people in my district who speak Tagalog, Vietnamese, Chinese, Cantonese, and Korean. And so we have to make sure that the fire department looks and sounds like the Los Angeles of today and the future. We want to make sure that that happens. We are, and I am committed to make sure that you have those resources. I applaud your efforts, as I do, Frank. I applaud your efforts and the efforts of the men and women in your union. As I said this morning, all I want to say to you is thank you. Thank you for going forward and doing the job you did under the most limited resources and the greatest of challenges. The report of the grand jury is not surprising, and what is surprising and remarkable is that we weathered that storm. And so I say thank you, and thank you to the men and women of our department for your leadership and for their courage. But it's time for us to move on and move forward with a fire department that shares in the great glory of the past, but really is reflective of the challenges that confront this city in the future. So I thank you.
Mr. Lamont.
Chief Featherstone, thank you for coming from the Department of Emergency Preparedness, where you were prepared before as a firefighter to lead this fire department. You're doing a great job. You got a great team. And to Frank Lima, who represents the workforce, it's important that you came to the table. We're all on the same page. Now we've got to write the next chapters that make a difference. When I first got here, I sat over there. And on that side of the table, the thing I fought for first was the 10th person on task forces. Because the previous mayor of the time cut it down to 9. And we got back to 10th person. And there was that graphic testimony by McMasters from 35s, who tried to, they saved the child, if I'm looking right at you, Joe Castro. They saved the child, but the woman fell. And it was because of the staffing challenges that changed the dynamic of the team effort that you show every time you go to an event where people call and need you. Members, in every community is a fire station that serves Los Angeles. Over 106, 7 fire stations. Every community. That is very important that we have the team that's behind there. Right now, if Dr. Jones was here, she'll tell you it's just a matter of time the earthquake comes. And the more we reduce their staffing, the less it is at our most critical point. All this is important, so I just want to thank Mr. Bonin, Mr. Englander, for this discussion here that we all have to gather on, because in a few short weeks, we'll be doing the budget. And we've got to find a way to fund back these positions. Just in my own area, which has a lot of hillside, there were 3 engine companies removed. 50s, which has Glassell Park and northeast part of Los Angeles, 20s, which has Echo Park, and 35s, which has Griffith Park. All that, Elysian Park, excuse me, for the brush. All that makes a difference because you don't have the first hit that's necessary. Just like on Sunday, when they tackle them quick, they went down quick. When they tackle a fire quick, they went down. The fire didn't happen. When you respond for medical, you need them there fast as could be. I remember when the Brown Bombers were here, which were the police department, and all they did is pick you up and you prayed. And now you have very skilled people, and that's at no disrespect, that was the time. Very skilled people. So this is all very important, but I'm asking for the CAO and the CLA, that's the Chief Administrative Officer and the Chief Legislative Office, and our Mayor's Office to come up with a plan that we can find a way. And we have to look for funding, resources, or whatever the case is here, because we're fooling ourselves, because there will be another earthquake. There will be fire. I was so happy to see the rain. I went up to Central State, and I met the crew from the county, the last county crew, L.A. County, 3 guys, 77s up in Gorman. And I went through and saw how dry it is. And if it doesn't rain, it's going to be drier, more brush. We have assignments to do. We've got to make sure we support the men and women who are out in our neighborhoods 24 hours a day and serving us. So thank all of us for bringing this attention, but we still have our work to do. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Bonin.
Thank you. Just wanted to ask a couple questions since I ran out of time before. My understanding is that when the next class completes, by the time those folks start working, we will have had more attrition and the department will be smaller after the class than it is now. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
At what point do we anticipate the department will stop shrinking and start growing?
If we begin to run concurrent classes in December of this year, we will probably reach, we'll start to be able to break the surface, so to speak, in March of 2016.
The department will continue to shrink until March of 2016?
It'll be some ebbs and flows, but essentially we won't have sufficient staffing, and this is predicated on us running concurrent academies. We won't have sufficient staffing until March of 2016.
And right now you're not approved for concurrent classes. You're going to need further action from us to make that happen?
The concurrent classes are being asked for in the proposal for the 14-15 budget.
And that supposes, of course, that our attrition forecasts are correct.
Yes, sir.
Our attrition forecasts from a couple years ago, before you came on board, were not correct. And the attrition rates and the drop rates were higher than we had anticipated. Since you've been on board and you've been digging in deep on this stuff, what level of confidence do you have that our current attrition forecasts are correct?
I'm very confident at this point that our forecasts are correct.
What has the department been doing differently with its forecasts than it did a couple years ago then?
I don't know, because I don't know what the process was before, but I'm asking staff to be a lot more thoughtful, and I ask and I re-ask and I ask for validation of numbers. And I have my leadership style is a questioning style, so I ask questions, not gotcha questions, but questions to drive to the root of the problem.
And you also need not just the additional resources for the department. There actually needs to be more additional resources for the personnel department
Absolutely.
as well in order to process the concurrent classes. Right?
Yes, sir. Processing candidates and potential new hires, a lot of that is out of the fire department's hands. So it becomes a whole of government, a whole of community effort by the city in terms of getting the numbers and the quality recruits actually in the pipeline.
And what analysis has the department done on the impact of the frequent and excessive use of overtime on the folks who are working now? I've been out to a lot of stations, and you don't often hear rank and file saying, I have too much overtime. But I'm actually hearing that from folks who are saying they're getting called in, they're overtired, and they're afraid of the impact on neighborhood safety. What information has the department gotten or research has it done?
If you give me a moment, I believe I have. I can't get to it right now, but the thing is that we have our overtime is excessive at this point, and because of the staffing shortages, we have had the overtime. Our assigned hires have gone up significantly, a lot more than we've had in previous years, and there's a very obvious uptick in overtime. And you get to the point. I don't have the document in front of me.
You got a doctor sitting next to you. Let me ask him. What impact are you seeing or hearing on the rank and file about so much use of overtime?
Well, it's well established. There are maximum work hours now in every field of medicine for every level of provider, including interns and residents in training. It's well known, whether you're a truck driver, a pilot, a physician, paramedic, or firefighter, that fatigue is problematic. Your skills and your mental processing slows down, particularly in something as hazardous as firefighting and paramedics, where you have to think on a moment's notice. 1 minute you may be asleep, the next minute someone's life is in your hands. We haven't been forced to limit work hours like the rest of medicine has, but in terms of in emergency medicine, you cannot work more than 12 consecutive hours without having 8 hours away from the medical center to have uninterrupted sleep. So there's no question about it. It's a potential compromise on our members' mental health and physical health, and it's a potential risk to the community in terms of patient care.
I presume that if we imposed on the men and women of the fire department the same caps on work hours that they have on doctors and medical professionals to prevent fatigue, that we probably wouldn't be able to adequately staff our stations. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. It would grossly exacerbate our current staffing shortages.
That's pretty scary. Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Chief.
Councilmember Bonin, I have the information now. In terms of assigned hires, which is essentially, I don't like to use the word force hire, but assigned hire. In 2007, 2008, we had 3,615 assigned hires. 2013, we had 7,397 assigned hires. So that's requiring people to work as opposed to voluntary overtime. Already in 2014, we have 1,008 assigned hires. And the recall, we've had 12 occasions to recall, which is what we do on top of assigned hires, just to keep the fire department staff to a sufficient response level. So we had 12 occasions to recall since June of 2013.
And previously, recall was something that was only done under pretty extreme circumstances. Isn't that correct?
In my 28 years with the city, 22 years and some months now with the fire department, I've only known of recall for the civil disturbance and for 92 and the Northridge earthquake.
So over several decades, we had it 2 or 3 times, and we've had it how many times over the past couple of years?
We've had 12 times since June.
Thank you. That speaks volumes.
Mr. Englander, to close.
Great. Thank you, and thank you all. There's no question that this department is on life support, and we need an infusion desperately of new recruits and firefighters. One of the things to address some of the issues in the last discussion was the ebb and flows and smoothing. There was a motion that we put in yesterday that will be discussed on being able to bounce back those retirees for at least a year so we can at least smooth out some of those peaks and valleys. I'd also like to thank the Chief Officers Association who's here today and recognize them as well. For whatever reason, they were left off the agenda, but they weigh in constantly and often and have direct access to us and have been instrumental and critical in this discussion, and I really appreciate everything that they do as well. But with that, what we've heard is we are no longer just a fire department. We are a medical emergency transport and treatment department, and that's what we do. LA FireStat and what's happening with FireStat and the report and the implementation of that is going to be absolutely critical. Are looking at the new dispatch protocols, putting those together to ease those efforts and address those previous concerns are critical. A lot of the initiatives taking place now with VLS and vehicle locator systems is now being implemented. It wasn't brought up here, but that is also going to help when a dispatcher's on the phone and they can see on a screen geographically where all of our resources are and bring the closest resource and call those folks to the scene will help a great deal. Looking at alternative transports and wall time, I've been having a lot of discussions with Mr. Krikorian on that, and those efforts are moving forward. We're putting a consulting team and working with the mayor's office on that as well. We've got the PA consulting report coming back, an in-depth report and recommendations, which is absolutely critical, but it's also more critical, or just as critical, that we bring all of our partners, the Chief Officers Association and UFLAC, and our experts to review that report. We're putting a working group and a committee to bring the recommendations back on that as well. We've got to elevate the restoration of the department to the highest priority. Go Code 3 on those efforts to restore those cuts. And so therefore, I'd like to thank those. I'd like to thank the grand jury. I'd like to note and file item number 10, item 1. I'd like to send item 2A to the Budget and Finance Committee so we can look at that in context of the upcoming budget as well. Note and file B and C. Send item 29 as well to the Budget and Finance Committee per Mr. Cedillo's recommendations as well, and have our CAO start weighing in on that and give us some of those answers and solutions. On 10A and 29A, which was just circulated, we'd like to approve those and have those reports come back to the Public Safety Committee. Those will be my recommendations, and again, I want to thank you all in this critical discussion.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Clerk, do you need to explain anything, or can we just move forward with our vote?
Mr. President, we can now approve those recommendations as amended.
Excuse me, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one other request. I agree that items 10A and 29A that Mr. Englander and I introduced today should go to public safety. I would ask that those reports also come to budget and finance as well.
Without objection. Okay, let's then, Mr. Clerk, why don't we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Move that forthwith, and that we give applause once again as they stand up and recognize our men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department.
Ms. Martinez?
Can I point out there's a woman in this class?
All
Where is
righty.
she? I thought I met one upstairs. Where are you? One.
All righty. Again, thank everyone. Mr. Clerk, I want to vote on one of the items. I think it's 1T, 1O and T. I want to have both of them continued for 30 days. So do we have to reconsider them and then continue them, or what?
No, sir. Neither has been considered at this matter. You can continue 1O and 1T to March 18, 2014 without objection if you'd wish.
Okay, so that will be the order. Thank you. Now we're going to move to item 30. Mr. Sachs, item 30. Arno Sachs, item 30. Is Mr. Sachs here? I don't see him. So, Mr. Clerk, why don't we prepare then to vote on item 30? Madam Clerk, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Item 33, Mr. Walsh, if you're here, please come forward for item 33.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org.
Let's
Well, I
let
like it
Mr.
when it's
Walsh
noisy.
speak.
I like it when it's noisy. It sounds like Chinese drums. I don't know what's going on here. This number 33, this concerns Cahuenga Boulevard, which is very close to where I live. I know Mr. Caress is trying to ban us from speaking about anything that isn't in our neighborhood and taking a dump on the First Amendment. But in any case, number 33 concerns Hill Park Drive Street Lighting District. Again, we have said over and over again here, this is establishing a hearing date for the maintenance of the Cahuenga Boulevard District. Since we've changed the lighting, we've essentially gone digital on the lighting. There are no more. When I moved here, you screwed in light bulbs, and they fell apart all the time. It was a constant hell calling up and getting our light back, because anybody out there who has lighting on their street knows when the lights go off, you're scared as hell, because all the scumbags come on the street and run it. Come to Hollywood and Vine, and you'll see the scumbags. But when we have the lighting, and this new improved lighting means that the maintenance is much, much less than it used to be. But what they're doing to the homeowners and the property owners is charging you the same or more than when maintenance in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s and into the 80s was much, much lower, much, much higher. Now it's very low, but after all, they've got hundreds of millions of dollars in tax arrears here, and our budget's falling apart. And remember, don't pay your lighting district until you find out what's happening. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. You may want to stay close for the next item, Mr. Walsh. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to 34, Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Herman on item 34.
John Walsh. Come to the website. You'll be shocked when you do. That's item 34, HollywoodHighlands.org. Again, this is the REAP. We're 100% in favor of REAP. Let's take a look at let's see who the bad property owners are. Remember, this does not concern improvements. This concerns violation of basic code. And you really have to violate it a lot to get on this list. 14152 West Delano Street. This is twice West Delano Street, West 22nd Street. You see a pattern that in the minority districts, the owners simply do not follow code. On the west side, on the world west of La Brea, the people who live there, they're lawyers and doctors themselves, and they know how to take care of the property owners. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Batman.
Batman is back, Los Angeles. A little tired from this long fireman public safety, but the public safety here regarding rent escrow, it never stops. John Walsh pointed out to you, 14152 West Delano Street, case number 385456, accessory ID number, and I won't go on. But then yet we got 14152 West Delano Street, again, case number 392679. Now, if good landlords would take care of business, they wouldn't have this problem with rent escrow. And the city of Los Angeles would not have to acquire violations and restrict you to citations. But it's better for all the public because you as renters and they as landlords have to comply with city ordinance, municipal code, etc., etc., etc. So let's make good effort for every public interest that results in undue burden, cruel and unusual punishment when it comes to rent escrow. Because this city retaliates sometimes against renters and it retaliates against the actual person who owns the property. So it's a double standard here. So get it correct, get it right. We need your attention to address whether or not there are violations of regulatory discrimination, not only against the property owner, but against individuals who are affected by rent escrow. 14, 13, 12. Do you want to throw me off the stage again for dancing with my last 8 seconds?
Thank you. All right, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, let's go to item 7, which was called special by Mr. Sachs and Mr. Walsh. John Walsh, item 7. Mr. Walsh, I'm informed you have a minute.
I have 1 minute to go. I hope to live another couple of months, but I may only have 1 minute to go. John Walsh, this is item 7 relative to quit claim of sanitary sewer easement. Well, you have to, figure out what that means, which means that an easement, the sewer easement means that they're cutting corners. Quit claim means that the city is abandoning it. That's essentially what it means. Now, I know if I make the slightest mistake that Mr. Krikorian will correct me. But when I say things that hear outrageous things, he doesn't correct me because when John Walsh says outrageous things, it's true. And as far as this is concerned, in fact, the sanitation in the city, the sewer system in the city, is one of the better sewer systems in the United States. I don't think he's going to correct me on that. HollywoodHighlands.org. Never get corrected on a compliment.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
We're going to go now to item 2, called special by cards, Mr. Herman and Ashan Shilla. Okay, so Sean, come on forward. Followed by Mr. Herman. Go ahead. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. I'm just here to request a chance to work with the Office of Finance to open up the audit again and give them the requested paperwork that they need. The original audit was through the parking network, the TPN, which I assumed I gave them everything they wanted, and that didn't get anywhere, so they just slapped on the audit for $1 million, I believe, and $60,000 for the business tax. So I'm requesting a chance to work with the Office of Finance to give them the paperwork that they need in order to see the correct amount due.
Okay, Mr. Bonin, did you want to have, well, here, the floor is yours.
I'll send a staff member over to talk to him.
Okay,
right
so
now.
what we're going to do is send staff over to the side. So if you, Sean, would move over here, you'll be able to talk to representatives. Yeah, they're right over there. Okay. Mr. Herman.
You can't break a barrier. It's an illegal barrier. Yeah, be careful. We have an illegal barrier right here.
Mr. Herman, speak to the item.
Item 2, protest finance reports requesting approval to record liens against taxpayers. Yes, boo! Liens against taxpayers at a time of a hard-hit recession in Los Angeles. And who does it affect? Parking place at LAX Incorporation lien for $62,000 or $82,594.10. That's a lot of cash. And how long have you waited to figure out that you were to collect this monies? Instead, you allowed it to build up against a company that's trying to do business in Los Angeles? Give them a break. As much as I make my petition on their behalf, give them a break. Because to me, hearing after rent escrow that I talked about and building and safety, it just shows you these liens are retaliatory. Zuma Dog talked about your liens.
Thank you. Do you want to continue? Okay, on item 11, Mr. Clerk,
Item
or 2.
2A and 2B.
2A and 2B. Why don't we just continue that for 1 week? That would bring us to what?
February 12th, sir.
So we'll continue that to February 12th. Listen, I want to take a few of the general public comment cards now. Mr. Sachs, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Batman.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential. David Goldstein did an excellent story. Hope you've all seen it. Go on the web and find it. See, here, there are only 3 cities in America where the city council can buy their own car. The other cities, they just have to pick up a car and use it. And this is one of the cities. So he wanted to find the 3 biggest abusers of buying a car. So we found that 3, the other 12 of you are off. And he found that Bernard Parks spent $50,000 of our money buying what they call full-popped car. You know what a full-popped car is? Carl says it means he got everything on his car. Now, Herb, he said, I don't know nothing about no cars. Oh, that's right. It was your son, the one with the drunk driving record, who picked the car. But here's the best thing about Herb. Herb Wesson gets his car out of your money with a heated steering wheel. So he doesn't have to get up early in the morning and get that cold steering wheel feeling. You know how it is. But then again, he can't have his own son drive the car because he's not allowed to drive for 6 months because of the drunk driving conviction. I must say about Mr. Buscaino, he had some class. When he was caught, he didn't say what Parks did. Well, I can do anything I want. I didn't break any law when I stole your money, and he didn't break any law. Mr. Buscaino at least said, you caught me. Gotcha. At least he had the credit. He didn't blame it on his son the way Herb Wesson did. Come to our website. You will see everything about this. And David Goldstein is going to be doing some more huge exploratory stories, investigative reporting. HollywoodHighlands.org. Go visit David Goldstein at CBS.
Okay, let's have Mr. Batman. Daniel Garcia. Daniel, you still here? Okay, Daniel, I see you. So you'll come up after Mr. Batman, unless Mr. Batman wants to defer. Thank you. Mr. Garcia, good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, and thank you for having me here in the call. And I want to say, first of all, I want to announce my candidacy for the 12th district area, which is my Miss England. I'm running for election, and I want to say this out loud. My slogan campaign is called "An accessible city is a friendly city." Okay? The whole point of my slogan is that how can you go a friendly city in LA when there's no accessible housing and no affordable and accessible housing. There's no accessible ramps, sidewalks, and so on. How come a friendly city like LA can have a situation that can be called not friendly to people with disabilities? To make my point clear, I bought this thing. It's the back of my wallet. It's the back of my wheelchair. Okay? Product of the sidewalk that we live in. Okay? It's big. It has a mouth. It has a bottom. And so on. Okay? I want to know if this city is committed to accessible sidewalks. Because I heard, can I ask 1 more minute under the ADA rule?
No, just finish your sentence.
Thank you. The thing that I want to tell you is I heard that the city actually will have a bond for fixing the streets alone. Okay? How can you not take a street without fixing the sidewalk? So I want to ask you once again, how come this city cannot be friendly and not accessible?
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Batman.
Angelinos, very well spoken from Mr. Garcia. A broken system for public accommodations must comply with the basic safety of your constituents. All day today we heard it from the fire department. You have a broken system. You can't provide a service for the fire department to have funding? That's ridiculous. It goes to show you the callous nonsense of how to manage this city. Yes, we are not just the second largest city to fail, but we're going to be the first because of your mismanagement, your inappropriateness to handle business. Yes, and at the same time, because sometimes Mr. Krikorian doesn't like me to do my moves for you guys, the wave or the Macarena, whatever. It's nonsense. It's my First Amendment right to speak, to act, to behave, to get your attention. That's why all the speakers wait here to speak. And at the same time, you have people here who are saying what? Let's make good efforts for the public's interest, for result and of undue and unburdened system that doesn't work. You are the problem, the cruel and unusual punishment to your constituents and to serve the Angelinos here. Is this your legacy, Mr. Parks, as you sleep there, or are you listening? And what about you, Mr. LeBon? You both are on your way out. You did a good service. You get one clap. But that's it. Now we need you, gentlemen, to step up and play the game for your constituents. The public's interest should be your first priority. And as Dion Smuckers and Laugh, as Dollhouse Dude would call him, the Monopoly Man, woo-hoo! Dollhouse Dude, come back to City Hall and correct me if I'm wrong. Homelessness on Hope Street, go see it for yourself. 1800 Hope Street in Washington. It's ridiculous. Harming innocent, banning innocent people from a
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to go switch back to item number 1, Mr. Clerk. First, I want to say, by request from Mr. Parks, we want to take item 1C and continue that for 2 weeks. That would bring us to what date?
That's February 19, sir.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. If I could have Mr. Sachs come forward, and I have on Mr. Agee on item 1M? Okay, Raquel Urena. Raquel, are you here? Clyde Salcido. Clyde Salcido. Mr. Wayne from Encino, followed by Conway Reed.
What a disgrace item number 1 is. I saw one particular person come here today, CD15. CD15 is a strange district. It's to the south. It's represented by Buscaino, but there's a sliver goes up and down the 110 freeway. It is there, in that part of the district, a mostly African-American district, where the Building and Safety Department has been going around to property owners and writing them up liens for illegal activities, such as commercial zone lots, where people have proper fencing and walls, and they're parking their own cars, and yet they're getting assessed $5,000, $6,000 liens. Then they come here sometimes, and then the city says, oh, well, we can give you a 30-day extension, and we can work with you. And yet the certified letter says, sorry, you owe us this money, and if you don't pay it, we're going to put a lien on your property, and you may lose your home if you don't pay it. This is racial, economic, and social terrorism going on in this city, this list. This is outrageous. A city that takes in billions of dollars, the DWP transfers $700 million a year to this city, and you're picking the pocket of retired African-American, Latino-American, Italian-American people in poor districts with this economy for this kind of money? Sure, to you guys that have heated steering wheels in your custom-paid cars, $2,000 isn't a lot of money, but these people need these liens to be extinguished. Vote to extinguish all of these illegal liens. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a Conway Reed? Gina King? Anyone else on item 1? Okay, let's, Mr. Clerk, prepare to vote on that item then.
And Mr.
Yes.
President, if I may, the items still before us for item number 1 are items 1A, 1B, 1E, 1I, 1J, 1M, 1Q, and 1V, as well as 1N and P as amended to reflect the reduced liens.
Thank you. Okay, let's, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, let's go back to general public comment. I'd like to have Richard Robinson, Antonia Ramirez come forward.
Mr. President, members, c'est la guerre. Sir, because of the war, $1 trillion to end terrorism is spent wisely every year. Now that there's a clear plan. At Christmas time, the valiant military personnel members of our military will be at the Christmas table, as our president has promised. God is on our side. The coalition established by President Obama and President Putin, God has created. Who would have thought that former enemies of the Cold War would be global partners. Remember, tens of thousands of Russian troops are buried in Afghanistan. So, global politics, the times are changing. Here at home, the peace dividend will bring a new era of economic growth as factory output rebounds and the stock markets leap. As we loan the European Common Market about $100 billion. Money's needed in order to defend freedom. God is in charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. If I could have Ms. Ramirez, followed by Wayne from DWP, and closing up with Brian Barajas.
Thank you. To the West Los Angeles Police Department and Non-Emergency Dispatch Center and the City of Los Angeles, who is crazy? The pandering pussies who hide behind the twisted badge? Or the law-abiding American citizens who stand here before the world to expose you with full transparency and not making a single penny? Of course, not all of you are pussies, but it's not about money, it's about principle. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a rampant criminal empire living and working out of the Westwood Wilshire Corridor high-rise building. Case in point, the Wilshire Marquee, located at 10535 Wilshire Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90024, near Warner Avenue. The following condo junkie criminal units are number 504, number 1604, number 704, number deck 05, and the jacuzzi mob that meets nightly from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., and the Iranian who sneaks into the jacuzzi quad area after midnight to act as a lookout while crimes are in process. All the Latino employee gangbangers and the bogus full-service administrators, Antenna and AWAT, the pathological liars who perjured police reports and selectively choose or deny which residents they choose to help. The above-mentioned consist of criminal junkies, drug dealers, vandals, illegals, gangbangers, criminal trespassers, vicious thieves, and these obnoxious, obstreperous dirtbags who violate your privacy and your quiet, peaceful enjoyment. Again, let's deport them, let's arrest them, and have the West Los Angeles Police Department enforce the bloody rule of law. And again, we need the Honorable Governor Jan Brewer of Arizona and Sheriff Joe Arpaio. God bless them, for they have a strong backbone and defend and restore America. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I could have Wayne and Brian Barajas.
Notice there's red bags of giveaways here. I expect to get my free bag of whatever they're giving there in those nice red bags. Must be from the... I pay the bills here. Why don't I get free stuff here? It's only for the council people. That's not right, So, what do we have here today? This whole agenda, it's not going to solve the problems. You go to CD3 in the corner of Reseda Boulevard and Van Owen, and there's a large hole where there's a pothole cover that's supposed to be there, and it's about half an inch deep, and everybody every day, the buses, everybody hits the car, and it just destroys the front of the car. And this has been going on for, over 6 months, and they don't take a crew over there and finish paving the street. Then today, I go down Olive Street, and I turn onto Olive Street from James M. Woods, also known as 9th Street, and they got large mounds that you drive over, and one of them so bad, as soon as you go over it, your car flips up in the air and you hit your head up on the top of the ceiling of your car. Now, why is it that these roads are being unreasonably lately put in a dilapidated state? And I think the reason is because they're going to try to go around and pander this new sidewalk and repair bond that they're trying to prepare. Be aware it will not pass. So on a final note, I noticed that there's red things there that look like fireworks. I'd like, be sure to give me one of those.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Brian, please come forward. Brian Barajas.
I think there's a misunderstatement put out by Richard Robinson, and I question his sense of reality. That's a fact. And I also have to question other people's sense of reality. We are in an emergency crisis. The Russian Putin knows that the fascists taking over in Ukraine, in order for NATO to set up weapon systems, threatens Russia national security. This is under this president. Again, I question anybody's sense of reality of what time we are living in. And then the drugs coming out of Afghanistan, Obama didn't take care of that. He left it under orders of the British Crown. Wasn't there a recent actor that died out of heroin, and that's permeating? And what about this drug factor? They're drugs. And then people want to say things like, what? Bless this president, this puppet? And then you all come out here and say we're in a crisis, the firefighters, the people are dying. So where's your sense of reality? This is not just for the American people. This is for everybody in general. We have a Wall Street that's about to start thermonuclear World War III. So where is the sense of reality? We have a coup d'etat, a fascist, a disgusting sense of depravity. And I keep saying, throw this president out of office and implement the Glass-Steagall law. Shut the damn whole derivatives markets down. It's taking all of us to hell.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes general public comment for today. Mr. Clerk, what is before this body?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Announcements, members, announcements. Okay, if I could ask everyone, seeing no announcements, if I can, there's one, Mr. Cedillo, an announcement?
Yes, only that last Thursday, and I may have mentioned this on Friday, it's the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Horse, and all my colleagues are receiving gifts from the Chinese community as they celebrate New Year, which will be a month long of festivities, ending with a 5K firecracker run at the end of February. So just Happy New Year from the Chinese community of the 1st District.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Labange.
I'll be going up to the Los Angeles County Water Board on Friday during the day with the DWP to talk about water issues, which you all know is important. I'll report back to Mr. Fuentes, the key of the chair. And I did go up last weekend upstate to my cousin's house, and it was very, very, very dry. It did rain on Sunday, but this state is in a serious drought. And many of the lakes from Cachuma on up at Atascadero were very, very, very dry. So a very important issue. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Labange, and thank you for that additional service. If I could have everyone in the council chambers please rise for adjourning motions. If you would please rise. I'll look to Mr. Weezar's side. Any adjourning motions? Mr. Labange.
Remember Philip Hoffman Seymour, the great actor who tragically passed. So we should adjourn in his memory. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any more adjournings? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.